Welcome to all of you. In this lecture, we are going to start with the module 5, which includes mainly the digital signal processors, in which we are going to study the architecture of the digital signal processor, then fixed point and the floating point realizations, IEEE representation of the floating point, then the floating point processors, FIR and IIR implementations in fixed point systems. In this particular lecture, we are going to study two topics, that is DSP architecture and DSP hardware units. Let us start with the DSP architecture. So in general, there are two types of architecture in existence. One is the von Neumann architecture and one more is the Harvard architecture. Von Neumann is commonly used in microprocessors and few of the microcontrollers, and Harvard architecture is most common in digital signal processors as well as few of the microcontrollers. Let us go through the general architecture of the von Neumann. So in von Neumann architecture, we are going to have one address bus and one data bus, and it is for sure that for storing both the program as well as the data, we are going to have the common memory location. Therefore, program and data memory, that is why it is represented in a common manner. Along with that, it is going to have an arithmetic unit and then program control unit, address generator, input output devices which will be connected to the data bus as well as the address generator. If we consider for an example, a program has been written in some memory locations, and in the continued memory locations, if you are having the data, then the address bus generates the address of the program, that is the instruction. After fetching the instruction, if that instruction is going to have certain data, then that data will be fetched from continued memory location. That means operation has to happen one after the another, not in a parallel manner. Let us have a view about how the fetch and execution cycles will be present in von Neumann architecture. So one fetch and execute cycle corresponds to one instruction. Here we can clearly understand that in the first cycle of the timeline, fetch has happened. In the second cycle, execution has happened. After the completion of the execution of the first instruction, fetching of the next instruction is happening. So this clearly indicates that when the data or the instruction is being fetched, the ALU remains idle state. The ALU has nothing to do, therefore it will be in the idle state. When ALU is in the execution state, it is executing certain instructions by making use of data, then the address or the data will be in the idle state. That means some of the time will be wasted only in fetching and only in execution. So here we can observe that it is totally making use of around 6 cycles in order to execute 3 instructions. So this is a wastage of time that is going to happen in von Neumann architecture. Let us go through the Harvard architecture. So this diagram indicates the Harvard architecture that will be usually present in the digital signal processors. Here we can clearly observe that there is a separate address bus for program as well as the data, and there will be separate data bus both for program as well as the data. So data memory, program memory. So what this is going to indicate is we are going to have separate memory location for the program as well as for the data. So program will be fetched from the program memory and any corresponding data will be fetched from the data memory, and for both of them we are going to have separate buses. Along with this, we are going to have the arithmetic logic unit, multiplier and accumulator, the shift unit, then program control unit, address generator, input output devices. Now let us get into the execution cycle of Harvard architecture. So here what we can observe is, so when first instruction is being executed, second instruction is being fetched. So this is what we call the parallel operation. That means the bus cannot be idle state. When execution is happening, the bus will be free. So by making use of that program bus, it is going to fetch the next instruction to be executed in a parallel manner. So this is going to reduce total number of cycles required for execution. So here also we are considering 3 instructions. So for execution of 3 instructions, we can just observe that. So 1, 2, 3 and total 4 cycles are required for the execution of 3 instructions. Same in case of von Neumann, it has taken 6 cycles for execution. So here we have saved 2 cycles. So like this, if it continues for n number of instructions, then lots and lots of cycles will be saved for Harvard architecture. Using those, we can execute few more instructions. So overall we can say that there's a pipelining concept or the parallel concept which is not going to waste any cycle. ALU is also busy, bus, that is the program bus, is also busy. So that's why Harvard architecture execution is going to be faster when compared to the von Neumann architecture. Now let us get into the hardware units present in the digital signal processor. First one, multiplier and accumulator. Second one, shifters. Third one, the address generators. Let us take one after the another. First one, multiplier and accumulator. So multiplier and accumulator is a special unit present in almost all digital signal processors to perform the fast multiplication operation. So here we are going to have two registers X and Y, which is going to hold 16 bit of data. So these two are the operands we are going to have. For multiplication, the data from these two registers will be sent to the multiplier. So this multiplier is going to generate a double precision data, that is 32-bit size, that will be stored in a 32-bit accumulator, and from the accumulator the data will be shifted to the result register, which is also of 32-bit. So this is a dedicated unit that is present in the DSP concept. Now let us get into the second one, that is the shifters. So the basic use of the shifters is to perform the scaling operation. Scaling involves both multiplication as well as the division operations. So for better understanding, let us consider one simple example. So let us have 0, 1, 1 in a binary format, which is equivalent to 3 in decimal. Make a shift of this 0, 1, 1 towards right by 1 value. So it is going to end up with 0, 0, 1. After shifting 1 to the right, the rightmost value has gone out. Therefore, remaining is 0, 0, 1 in binary, which is equivalent to 1 in decimal. Now let us identify what is happening. So division operation is happening over here. Let us just make a cross verification of that in terms of decimal operation. In decimal, it is equivalent to 3 what we had taken. Perform 3 divided by 2, we get 1.5. 1.5, since it's a fixed point operation we are performing here, we need to perform the truncation. Therefore, after truncation, we are just rounding off this 1.5 to value 1. Now, the value 1 is equivalent to, in decimal, is now equivalent to the binary 0, 0, 1. Now there is one more operation, that is the shift left operation. Now perform the shifting of this 0, 1, 1, 1 bit left. So we are going to have the answer 1, 1, 0, that is equal to 6 in decimal. Now this is the multiplication operation. So given decimal data 3 multiplied by 2, we got 6, and this 6 what we have got, and after shifting left what we have got, Now they are equivalent. So in very simple manner we can say that any kind of right shift operation by 1 bit is equivalent to division by 2. Any kind of left shift by 1 bit is equivalent to multiplication by 2. Now let us get into the address generators. See, most of the digital signal processors implement the circular buffering concept. So circular buffering in the sense, so for example let us consider, so x of n is the data, then x of n minus 1, n minus 2 dash dash dash, then x of n minus 7 we are going to have, then after it will come back to this location. That means location wise it is always circular in nature. So it is going to operate on first in first out operation. So this is a fixed size of circular buffer we are going to make use of, and there are two methods what we can identify here is the data pointer moving in a clockwise direction or the data pointer moving in a anti-clockwise direction. In the further example we are going to take, we are going to consider that this data pointer is going to make a move in the anti-clockwise direction. Okay, so let us consider an example with respect to circular buffer. Assume that we are going to have the data like A, B, C, D, E, F, G dash dash dash, and this data has been loaded to this circular buffer of size 4. So A, B, C, D has been loaded, and make a consideration that it has been read already A, B as well as C, and now it is pointing to D. If you make the linearization of this representation in this sequential manner, something like this, or a linear manner, something like this, then we are going to have this kind of realization. A, B, C, D already read, A, B, C has already read, and D is the one which has to be now to be read. That is the current data location, and here is the pointer pointing to the D. Right? So now these are the equivalent representations we are going to have. Now make a consideration that the D also had been read. Now which is the next location it has to move? It has to move to this location. So in this location ABC has already read, D is also over. After D what we are going to have? It is E. Therefore in the location of A, this E will be loaded, and this E is the value that is going to be read in this particular cycle. So equivalent representation here. So after E, what is the next data we are having? After E we are having F over here. So F is the next data that is going to be read. So in place of B it will be loaded with the F, and to which the pointer is pointing to. So it's equivalent realization. So this is a circular buffer which will keep replacing the old data, and it will keep, the pointer will keep pointing to the newest data what we are going to have. So this is a circular buffer operation, and its equivalent first in first out queue we are going to have. Thanks for joining.